Hey everybody, I'm Dane Sanders, and I want to welcome you to episode 87 of Fast Track Coaching Ask Dane. This is, I say this every week because it is really fun, but I have a great job. I have a chance to run around all over the place and have conversations with some really fun people, and today is no exception. In fact, today I get to have a conversation with two of my favorite people who look a lot alike and are very different and have incredible gifts and talents that we are going to be the benefactor of today. But for those of you who are new to Ask Dane and haven't been on the show before, what we do is we take about 30 or so minutes once a week. Usually it's on Tuesday afternoons at 4, but today we are doing it a little early because I'm doing a workshop here in Oakland over the next couple of days. But the purpose is to basically have a conversation to help you and your business move. So whether it be you and your creativity, you helping with kind of one aspect of your business, that's great, but we're not trying to solve all of your problems in 30 minutes. What we're trying to do is help each of us as a collective solve like maybe one or two problems, or get a little bit of input or advice or a nugget that you take and you put into action. If all you're doing is listening as a spectator, this isn't worth your half hour. You should go back and do what you're doing. But if you're interested in getting like one or two things that you will actually implement as a participant in your business, I think you're really going to benefit. So the way it works is if you're on AskDane.com or you're at Vocal.com, regardless, you want to join the event and sign in, whether with your Twitter account or actually register at Vocal. And what will happen is you'll be able to engage in the chat room if you want. You can also, better than that, if you click the little button on the lower right-hand corner, there's this little button that looks like a light bulb, and you can actually ask a question, or you can actually set up your video camera and join us online. We'll pull you into the feed and engage the question. But what I want you to do is jump online, join the event, click on the little light bulb, ask the questions, and then go from there. We have quite a few of you guys who are already on, and more will be joining in a minute. But the topic of today is actually getting clients in the door. And without further ado, by the way, those wonderful shakes in the background, that's the world famous Olive, and you'll probably meet Olive before we're done. But let's pull in my friends here real quick. This is Jules and Joy, and we are being very clever in how we're doing this thing. You guys won't see as much of me on the screen when it's live, which I'm sure you're grateful for because of these two fine folks. Well, compared to you two, I'm glad to be out of frame. So you guys know, because you haven't seen this interface, what we'll do is we'll have this little chat room in here where we can chat and say hi, like Patrick.
Hi, Christy. Hi, Patrick. Hi, Patrick.
And
Olive is that's right.
I know.
We gotta show Olive for Patrick.
Tamara Lackey. That's so fun. Okay, so and then if you want the last questions, they'll come in here. We can improve them. If they want to do the video thing, we can do that.
The video thing that's fun.
It's really fun. In fact, wouldn't it be fun if Tamara Lackey were to jump on?
I know. Come on, Tamara, come on.
Wouldn't that be interesting? And people are jumping on here. We can see how many people are here and who they are, and all that sort of stuff. So,
and Danny's here. Hi, Danny. Hi.
now, one thing I'm noticing, this happens a fair amount, is about half of you guys are spectators and half of you guys are participants. And we're not trying to publicly shame anybody, but we do want to communicate.
Subtly shame.
Yes, subtly. Not so subtle. That's not my gift. But what we want to do is invite you to really participate, because I think if you do, the folks who do, every time, the feedback they give is they get the most benefit from this whole thing. So that's my invitation. Do whatever you want. Opportunities pass. Elvis Costello's in the house. That's kind of fun.
Oh,
yeah, this doesn't happen a lot. Last week I had Melody from Sweet and Saucy. And she was recently on Tori and Dean, and we were hoping that Tori Spelling was going to call in, but I told her I'd buy an extra cake if she did. Anyway, so what I want to do with this conversation with you guys, and it's a little weird because we're talking to camera 1 and camera 2.
All right.
But the purpose of the conversation today is how do you actually bring clients in the door? And you guys in your business, I know, Jules, you were weddings and portraits for many years in Los Angeles, and recently came up here to Oakland in partnership with your sister, and are doing a lot of kind of expansive things. The studio space is incredible. In fact, when we're done, maybe we can even wander around.
Oh yeah, fun. Give you a tour.
Check some things
and
out.
Patrick can see Olive. He wants to.
Olive got a haircut.
I know. She looks funny.
She does look funny. She's so cute. She actually looks kind of trendy. She looks like she could go to an LA bar.
Yeah. She's punk rock Olive.
Yeah. I can't even compete with the freaking dog. That's great. Okay, so to get things started,
my husband's asking me what I'm doing. I should go to www.askdane.com.
That would be totally appropriate.
Yeah, okay.
So to get things rolling, in all the transition, the stuff you guys have been doing, what have you learned in the last 6, 12 months, like stuff that you didn't know, even with your history in the industry, what has changed and what have you noticed specifically about getting new clients since you've been after this thing?
I think something to do with the studio space. I mean, this has been a huge change for us.
We'll talk about the change so people have context for that.
Okay, slow down, too. Sorry. Dean speaks really fast.
It's just because I feel competitive with you guys.
Well, for probably 9 or 10 years, I lived in Los Angeles. I don't know who to talk to.
Just go there.
And shot mostly weddings and worked out of my apartment. And I had a space in my apartment where I would meet with clients, and the overhead was really low that way. I was mostly word of mouth, so I didn't have too much advertising costs. And then my sister found this studio space here in Montclair, Oakland, and convinced me to move up here. And it's been practically like having an entirely new business. So I think for us, the change, like a huge part of this. Do you mean just like industry-wide or for us specifically?
Just you guys in particular, because I really think that there's something about, there's principles that people are hearing all the time at these workshops, even the stuff I'm going to be talking about in the next couple of days up here, but there's something about personal experience that isn't just a principle, but something that tangibly you guys have concretely were maybe surprised by opening up the new space and expanding more into portraits.
Actually, that's perfect for this talk today, because part of the thing was, having worked out of my apartment and had a space in home, I was always appointment only. I was very client specific and never did any kind of event kinds of things. And since we've now had the space, we have an actual space, it's designed specifically for our studio. We don't live here. There isn't any place to sleep here. It's retail. Well, I guess you could crash on the couch.
If Rick is in trouble,
couch is very well, theoretically. But it's basically, there's a window, it's a storefront, and so we've had to kind of reinvent ourselves and figure out ways to actually use the space so that we can justify having it.
But I think in doing that, we also want to say that there's a lot of people out there that do not have a studio space, and we have found that we're learning how to partner with other businesses and other vendors, and that you don't necessarily need a retail studio space.
Yeah.
We've been having a lot of fun with it and playing with like how to use it, but we found that there's things you can do, and we'll talk about that, that you don't need a space. So I don't want you to just turn off if you think, well, I don't have a retail space.
Oh, no, that was my next part, was just that I think that a lot of the things right.
Yeah, that's the problem with these two, is they're constantly, like, it's literally having, yeah, no, look at my large, my noggin. Patrick just made fun of me in his own way. But there's something about, it's funny, half of my face. I'm going to have to get awkwardly close. Can I do that?
Yeah, well, I'll get in.
There's something about...
coffee that's huge.
I know. I ordered the small. Just kidding. Okay, so there's something about stories people make up in their head about everybody in the industry. So I look around and I compare, and I'm like, oh, well, that person has this benefit, and that's why they're winning, and these people have this. And I think you're right that I would love to hear, because you've both done it in your home, you've done it virtually in seasons, I'm sure, where you had to, you know, or even just having these spaces, still meeting with clients in their homes or at coffee shops or in kind of random places. There has to be principles that are consistent that go with lead generation in particular. And I guess maybe let's address that two ways. So first, if you, now that you have a studio, what's the #1 thing that you've leveraged to get more clients in the door? And then if you didn't have a studio, how could you leverage that same idea without it? Or maybe you could, I'm not sure.
I think, okay, Jill's asking me because she's like, I
just like the show.
I think that the #1 thing that I've learned in working with Jules and having this space is that it's more important to work with people, and that you can work with people in any situation. It doesn't have to be a studio space. You can meet with people in their homes. And also, for example, we had a big event here a couple of months ago that we'll talk about in a minute, but I was really working hard on getting other local businesses to partner with us, and I tried to call them on the phone and say, hi, we're a local photography, we're having this event, and nobody called me back. Nobody could buy in that way.
Which makes sense, because they don't really have a felt need. They're not really...
And they don't know me.
Yeah.
And so, but what would happen is, if I would go into that space and say, hi, I'm Joy, you're Dane, nice to meet you, let me talk to you a little bit about what I'm doing, they get all excited, and every single person I met with in person bought in. And we had a fantastic event. And so I think the lesson that I learned, and that it's seems like a no-brainer, but that it's all about one-on-one contact. It's all about...
No, I don't think it's a no-brainer. I think people focus so much now on social networking and being online and working on the websites. People forget even how important it is to have a picture of yourself in the About section, and you're really good at this, and having videos so people can see you talking. But even that, like, it's one thing to, even this.
It's so
like,
much,
to
this
see
is
us,
not
like,
the same. I'm having more fun than you are.
But do you know what I mean? Like, to go
right.
in and speak to people one-on-one, and
That's
to
right.
actually learn to stay present and to be in the same. It's hard to remember that stuff.
Well, and to act on it. I know for me, I just get overwhelmed sometimes with all that I have to do, and sometimes the most obvious things, which are right in front of me. Gosh, just go have a conversation with somebody, reach out and shake.
Well, I think it's not. I think it's scary too.
It is scary.
I mean,
and
it's a lot
I'm
easier to be on the
extroverted
phone.
and
It's a lot easier to email somebody and to like keep that little distance from yourself.
Yeah,
And
like, what if they don't like you?
Right.
What if they don't, whatever?
Yeah.
Well, and
None
I
of the
think-
ones as cute as you.
you have to be really cute too. That helps.
Yeah, well.
No, it's not. That's not true. You have to be really genuine. That's
Right.
what you have to be. You can be yourself, and I think actually that's the bottom line, is that you have to be yourself and be genuine and go in. And if you don't connect with somebody, that's not a big deal. Like, that's okay.
Probably not your client.
Right, and, or not even
Or
necessarily a
business
client. Right, exactly. The person that you do connect with, that's the one that you'll work with, and you'll rise both of. If you don't connect with somebody, then it's not. You just need to move on.
So I'll tell a little story. Here's the story. We got this studio space, and this thing will translate into not if you don't have your own studio space. But we got a studio space. It's in the city of Oakland.
Who's talking fast now?
Okay, so it's in the city of Oakland. So what we did was we joined the Chamber of Commerce of the city of Oakland. And in joining the chamber,
I like it too.
Don't be jealous.
in joining the chamber, we got to know somebody came from the chamber and met with us personally. So they
Can I interrupt for a second? When I think Chamber of Commerce, I don't think cool photography.
right. See,
Okay, we're gonna
stodgy,
see,
right?
yeah, this is the story now, okay? Chamber of Commerce, especially the city of Oakland, enormous city, right? How can anything be beneficial for this? So a woman came, her name is Trisha. Hey Trisha. She's she's all hip and cool, and she came and met with us one-on-one at the studio. We instantly developed a rapport with her, and so we were talking about, and one of the things that the chamber does is help you with your business. So she said, let's do a red ribbon cutting, and we'll announce your studio here in the space. And so we said, that's
They give you
perfect.
the key to the city?
Yeah, key to the city.
No, but giant
scissors.
Are you kidding?
Yeah,
It's hilarious.
I got to hold these big scissors and be like,
We felt real, like a real business.
Oh, wow.
We cut ours with ribbon. But what happened was, we actually parlayed that into our own event, which was, we wanted to play with this whole idea of the virtual versus the real, and how everybody's very concerned right now with social networking and getting more friends on Facebook and getting followers on Twitter, and you know, but how does that translate into actual paying clients, right? So we made a Jules Bianchi Photography Facebook fan site where you could like us or thumbs up us. Go like us. Jules Bianchi Photography. And but for photographers, it's actually Jules Cafe. There's a plug there.
I like them both.
you go like both.
Yeah. Okay, so but what we did was we developed this event called Let's Be Friends, like the Facebook friending.
I think I saw that outside.
Yeah,
we're here.
So this is our postcard, right? Big postcard. See, we did the blue stripe. It's all fat.
Right. Is it going to be in focus?
It won't be, but I know.
So, and we did all of our marketing had this fat white font, the blue line, everything like this. And also, the thing about a postcard, as opposed to an email blast, which we did as well, but this is an actual physical piece that went to people's homes. We did a marketing thing using Marathon.
Well, tell them your theory about email versus snail mail.
Email is sort of passé now. It's too easy to delete. You get thousands of emails a day, whereas something in the mail, like this glossy thing with this cute picture of Olive and Jules, at least people will stop and look at it. What is this? And so it has a call to action.
We're
on
very
it.
tangible though.
And the prizes came from anything. They weren't even photography related. We had a local nail salon. We had a spa certificate. We had pizzas we were giving away. We had gift certificates for restaurants. All these different places to bribe people to come in.
Entice people
to come in, because I think
Pictures of me and my twin sister.
right. Think about it this way: what is going to make you come in to a photography studio? And I think that we were trying to think of it was a summer party. It was something to get people in the door, and so we invited them to come in. We had balloons out front. And then what we did was we took pictures of them for their Facebook page, took profile pictures, and they were really fun. We had all kind of fun stuff they could dress up in, or just do a straight regular picture. So then, in every goodie bag that had all these coupons and certificates and fun things from the local vendors had explicit information on how to find us on Facebook, how to friend us, so that we could then tag them, and then they could make their...
But then they just become part of our marketing group.
Right, so now we've met them in person, and we also have a viral connection to them because we had this reason for them to go on Facebook, get tagged, and it went into their stream, so then it just kind of fed on itself.
But the thing to think about too is if you don't have a studio space to find maybe a restaurant to partner with, you can, the Joy Cam that we set up to take everybody's photographs was just a simple white backdrop. We had a camera on a tripod and it was on a remote trigger, but you could take them yourself. I mean, there's ways to be creative about it and to do this type of event in other places if you don't have a studio. And if you did partner with a new restaurant or even like a dog grooming place, if you wanted to do a dog type event, and there's like ways to think outside the box and be bigger than yourself.
And use other people's spaces, and so again, it goes back to that win-win. So,
right.
For example, we're doing a shoot with dogs, but we're actually having an event at the groomers. So, and we made a big poster for her that highlights her groomer, her as a groomer, and us as a photographer. It's up in her window. So the traffic is going,
and she loves it because it's a picture of her dog.
Which is our win.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's keep going because there's some other pragmatic questions here.
We forgot to tell, we'll answer the question, but we didn't ever finish the story about the chamber.
Okay, finish the chamber. I got excited.
So the thing about the chamber is that there is, first of all, they helped us promote that event because we were their members and they were doing the ribbon cutting, and so we had this whole huge arm of people that we wouldn't have reached because they were all members of the chamber, that they were advertising for us. They all came to the event and they posted it on their Facebook page. But then to take it a step further, the chamber itself has smaller committees, and one of them is the ambassador program, where you can go and become a chamber ambassador, and it actually has turned into sort of a networking group in itself of other ambassadors that all are from different businesses, and we support each other, and it's been really fun getting to know these people. And
plus, then you're sort of on the in on what's happening in your city too.
Yeah.
Well, that's what's amazing to me is you said this, but to be overt about it, like you created another win-win because the whole purpose of the chamber is to promote physical businesses, to actually get people to actually see each other face to face. Because probably their biggest threat, at least what I make in my mind, is the internet, because people don't.
Right.
You know,
it's just circling that
space.
But like even if you go to a mixer, I mean, a mixer is sort of that level. But it's also that still awkward social, like, hi, I'm Joy, I'm a photographer. But to actually,
you have a reason for being there.
right, yeah,
because you're an investor, and
right.
you're,
So to get involved on another level was, I think, what clinched it for us. To get involved on another level, that now we're actually volunteers in the chamber. And so, for example, they had a big golf classic a couple of weeks ago, and we came and we helped with the golf classic. We got to drive the carts around. It was super fun. By the way, what? Remember when people were saying they didn't know who was who? Which
Between
one
the two of you guys.
Oh, I'm Joy.
That never happened.
Joy.
Well, apparently when we spoke at the WPPI Roadshow, afterwards people were like, we wish you had told us who you were.
The smart one, always Joy.
This is
The
Joy.
smart one's actually
This
always
is Joy. This is Jules. Oh, I got it mixed up. Sorry, this is awkward. Okay, so Jules. Joy.
Okay, so let's answer the questions.
Okay, well, so let me just sum up what I heard you say. One was personal connection is really meaningful, and then also figuring out a way. Thank you. Figuring out a way. Let's get to this. Figuring out a way. I wish you guys could be in the room and see how awkward we're close to. Let's get Good hug. It's like Becker should be here. And now it's too much unnecessary.
All day and all the time.
Yeah, that's awkward. So making personal connections, looking for ways to not just quote-unquote network or have an excuse to hand a business card, but create a meaningful transaction around win-win situations. And if you do that consistently, whether it be in a mailer or be in an event like you're describing, but that is, it's not, where I get nervous is when people will hear this and they'll go, oh, so that's the magic trick. I just need to do a mailer. Or, oh, I just got to call the Chamber of Commerce and they're going to bring big scissors.
Yeah.
And that's not the point at all. It's in your situation, exactly where you're at, whatever you're doing, think through, is it a win-win? Like make a list. Is it a win-win? If you can't answer yes to that question, you don't have a good answer. Is it making a personal connection? If you can't answer yes to that, it's not a good enough answer. And to keep trying to find something specific to your situation that you can move on. And the result is not only increased traffic, but you're developing relationships that in and of themselves can create new traffic.
Right, exactly. That is exactly it. Because I think that in any industry, there's many choices.
I like the thing, just listen. I'm always the talker.
Well, there's a lot of choices. choices. There's a lot of photographers out there, so if somebody knows you personally, they'll choose
Every
you.
time.
Yeah,
That's true.
They're going to work with people that they like and that they know. And I think the other thing about the win-win and the connection is that you have to think, like, what is in it for the, even with a mailer, what's in it for the person getting the mailer? Why would they come to your event? So whenever you're doing anything, you want to think about what are you asking the person to do? What's the benefit for them? Like, you're not just setting out like, look at me, I'm a photographer. You're always going to try and create some kind of event, something to draw them in. Like, why would they come? Maybe it's to photograph their dog, or maybe it's to do a holiday shoot, or maybe it's just for a party, for the Facebook event like we had.
Or to get the freebies.
Somebody asked about
something to
freebies.
entice them. But there was a good question we could actually...
Well, there's actually a bunch here. So first off, this is in the chat room. There's a bunch of people that love you guys.
Hi!
And there's Matthew and Shoots and Shelly and Jeff and Faith and
Is
Christy
Shelley?
and...
Elvis Costello!
Isn't that sweet?
No.
He's writing a
It's
song. That's funny.
Wait, somebody asked a question.
Yeah, well, I don't. If you ask a question in the chat room, guys, we can't answer it because we want to put it up on screen. But if you ask in the question section, we can, and then we actually approve them. And if you guys want to get in with the live video thing, you can do that too. First question from Sarah asked the question: Do you put prices on the postcard?
We haven't, have we? This
Well,
one did not have. No.
Would it be valuable to?
Put a price on a postcard?
Because I know there's different philosophies on this.
Yeah, I never know. Like, I always wonder, like, you have the tire kickers. You want to kind of give people an opportunity to see whether or not you're even in their price range at all. But in terms of mailers, especially something like this one, it was more about just creating awareness that we existed. We didn't want to either turn anyone on or off with something as specific as prices. It was just more about letting them know we were having this party.
Yeah, you're selling a party.
Yeah, we're sort of selling ourselves, not anything specific. So
Right.
the answer to your question was no, we didn't put prices on the postcard, and I probably wouldn't. I have like ranges on my website in terms of
Starting at.
yeah, so people can kind of get a sense, but I think prices,
The only time I would put a price is if, because we did on this last postcard, I'll get it, is I have a big version of it, is we're doing an event for holidays and dogs, and it's a whole collection, it's just all one piece, so I think we put the price on that so people kind of know what they're getting into.
Yeah,
It's going to cost you this much to come for this.
What I love about that too is it's just purposeful. So it's not a right or wrong answer, put prices or don't put prices. It really comes down to, do you have a good reason why you would put the price?
Right.
If you don't have a good reason, don't. Or find one.
two people have asked the same question.
Okay, let me pull that up here.
Yeah, that's a good question.
So Faith and Jeff Wallace, we'll put them both up. First, is it Faith and Jeff, these questions?
Yeah, they're basically the same question.
Okay,
How do you come up
so-
with the both up at the same time?
I can only put one up, but I'll leave with Jeff's, but I'll put Faith's up
How do you
first.
get the address
direct mail sounds great, but how do you get the addresses off someone when they contact you via email?
Ask them.
And then, wait, because we want to get both credit. Jeff Wallace says, when mailing out a postcard, how do you come up with addresses for your
Okay, so we have a very good answer for this, and Joy actually is the one who sort of found out about it. Well, go ahead.
Okay, well, one, if it's a lead from an email, I would just flat out ask them and say, hey, we've got some fun stuff, we'd love to put you on our mailing list, and then if they say no, then don't bug them, right?
And save yourself the...
Save yourself the
yeah.
if they don't even want it. But
you don't want people to spam people.
right, yeah. So that, I think in that case, they're already an interested lead. It can't hurt to ask. And you should always respond to emails anyway. But as far as actually getting a mailing list together, there's quite a few companies out there that will generate a mailing list. But one company that we work with that we like is Marathon Press, which is a fantastic company all about the photographer, all kinds of great
Is it
solutions.
just marathonpress.com?
Marathonpress.com, I believe.
I think so.
And
Not
they-
just Marathon, but yeah.
They great solutions for beginning photographers and also for direct mail. They'll actually they can even design the postcard for you.
Right, but you can be as specific as you want about the list. Like, we gave them our parameters. We wanted people within a certain mile range of us,
A certain income level. We wanted them to have kids and pets. Was our parameter for the Facebook party.
Right.
So, but you can give them whatever parameters you want. And I think that the only reason I'm talking about Marathon in this case is because not every mailing company is reputable, and sometimes they'll give you bogus addresses. And
Sure, and Marathon specifically is for wedding photographers.
Right, so I would
they're
trust
building their list
them.
intentionally. At least it's probably the best list builder. But at the same time, that's a great starting point. But I would also encourage you, and I know you guys do this too, is you have to be actively building your list at all times. So it's not just, how do you get a jump start, but are you figuring out clever ways on a regular basis to capture people's information when they want to opt in?
And here's another interesting caveat to that is we are working with a groomer. We're having an event with dogs, like I've mentioned at the holiday dog event. So we're doing portraits for dogs for the holidays, giving away, selling Christmas cards and that kind of thing. And the number one issue with having an event is getting your information to the right person, right? So you want people that have dogs, who want to spend money on dogs, who are interested in the holiday portraits. So how do you find those people? Well, people that spend money to groom their dogs will most likely spend money to get their dogs photographed. So we teamed up with this groomer, we photographed her pets for her, made these big posters and her...
Yeah, we gave her a free namesake canvas wrap to put up, and we gave her some other art to put up in her student...
And we created a postcard. We're giving her the postcard. She's using her mailing list. It's not even our list. So it's a win-win for her because we put her name on there, so she's getting, yet another touch for her clients, but it's also advertising our event. So, that's another thing you can do and that's a win-win, where it's a perfect mailing list because we know every single one of those people have dogs and they pay for their dog.
That's fantastic. Okay, so here's a far more important question that we need to address. I'm sorry to Jeff to make you feel bad, but I just want to make sure that we get to the stuff that's really critical. My good buddy, Elvis Costello, asked a question.
Do we like your music?
By you, I think he means me. but yeah, I'm a big fan of the music thing. And by the way, Elvis, you and I have hung out before at your show. But
Elvis married me.
Elvis Costello?
Yeah, this is Elvis Costello.
Oh, sorry.
The other Elvis.
Yeah. There's only 2 of them. There's no other Elvises around. Anyways, good question, Elvis, and come back anytime, no problem. Melissa Rich asked the question, hi, as an established photographer in one demographic, how do I reach new clients in a new state? I just moved. Great question. In fact, this is relevant to you because, even though you had clientele in the Bay Area, you made a significant commitment to be here where you couldn't just live off of those referrals. You had to create new markets.
And I think that goes right back to what we were saying about connecting on a level.
Having to go into businesses around you. I think for me, having lived in LA and traveled to the Bay Area all the time, and I was always focusing on traveling, and a lot of my weddings end up being travel, but we wanted to... But we wanted to do something a little more close to home, and our focus for this year was to really focus in what's happening around the studio within, 6 miles or something. So I think if you move, that goal for you would be then to go and meet the businesses around you, consider joining your chamber or a B&I group, or certainly you want to join one of your local,
What's B&I?
Business networking initiative, business networking something.
Okay.
But I think you could just Google BNI and they have
BNI with your city even.
Yeah.
Right. But basically,
capital E, capital N.
Right. It basically if you don't know what BNI is, it's a group of local businesses that meet once a month, and it's all about self-promotion and helping each other. And usually they'll have only one member of a specific type of business, so your B&I group may already have a photographer, but they may allow things like a portrait photographer and a wedding photographer, and I think they're all flexible.
But the more you get, it's interesting because I know we've all 3 of us have always promoted getting involved with other photographers, joining a photographer group, and that's great.
You notice how popular you 2 are?
Well, how many people are there? How many thousands?
Gazillions, right there. Look at that number.
We like it.
And our time is kind of rolling pretty quickly, so if you guys have questions still, especially in the chat room, because I'm seeing a lot of folks talking about a lot of different things on the side.
See, I know.
Business Network International, that's what it means.
Thank you.
And there's tons of commentary, a bunch of different people have opinions on different things. That's just great. I love you guys chatting in the room in there.
But maybe they don't know how to do the questions.
Well, to remind you guys, on the lower right-hand corner, there should be a little light bulb if you join the event. You can't ask a question unless you join the event. And if you do, just click the light bulb and you'll have a choice between giving a video question or a text question. For example, Ryan Tremblay is going to join us here in a second, and we're going to wait for him to get
0 money from mail
out. What free ways can you suggest to promote?
And by the way, his question is going to be good because I don't necessarily buy the premise of that whole thing. It doesn't have to always be free, but let's see what he has to say. So in a minute, he's going to be on in a second. He's getting his camera all dialed in, and he'll come back and say he's ready, and then we'll pull him on in a second.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
So in the meantime,
let's look at other questions.
Faith asked a question. So I have an interested client.
That's a good one for you.
Get on my door for consultation.
This is a good question for Joy. Sorry.
I have an interested client, but I can't seem to get them into my door for consultation. Any advice?
Okay. So I am a big believer in, I can't even talk about that other thing that's happening anyway, about the consultation.
Oh yeah.
You'll find out later about the consultation. It's a teaser. And I'm actually a big believer in the consultation because I think it translates into bigger sales later.
Every time.
And it will, so
but it is hard. That's a hard one to get people in the door. So sometimes.
Yay. Okay, so wait, camera. So the two things. One, really great phone skills if you have to talk to them over the phone. Two, you can have an online presence if you want to show products or walk them through your process online. They absolutely won't come in. But three, you can just make it as enticing as possible to get them to come in and explain that this is actually a whole process that's, you know, it's fun, but if you really want to get those images that you're dreaming about, that, you know, this is a piece of art that's going to be in their home. I guess it depends on, even with a bride, a photographer is going to be in the bride's face the whole day. You want to see if there's that connection with the person.
Well, it depends too on what your end result is going to be.
That's
like
right.
Our goal is always to get products in people's hands, like art on their walls or an album.
Yeah.
But some people maybe aren't in that position. Like maybe you just want to shoot and burn. I'm not a big fan of that, but some photographers, that's all they really want to do.
Well, then I think they don't want to do a consultation. I
Yeah,
think
right.
the consultation is more.
Yeah, what consultation does, and this is, we all get this from thanks to people like Julia Woods and others who've kind of really helped educate our industry in this, is the idea of just planting a seed and fertilizing it and doing what you need to do. Because if you don't take a little time on the front end, you're not going to reap the benefit.
Right. I mean, you don't even know what you're shooting for if you don't do the but you know, I have done plenty of consultations over the phone, and if you can get, you know, even have a list of things you want to ask, make sure the points that you hit or things you can show them online.
Right. We have a.
You certainly want to respect other people's time too.
Right, and we have a site set up that shows we've like taken the time to photograph all of our products from all different angles and put the prices right on there, and it's a password protected site where clients can go and talk with Joy on the phone and look at the products and see the prices simultaneously. So it's not as good as a, you know, one-on-one in-person consultation, but it's definitely a good second choice. So
Now, I'm a little overtime right now. Are you guys okay if we go a little longer?
Yeah.
Is that right?
As long as the virtual world is okay.
Okay, if you guys are okay, that would be great. Now, and by the way,
I want to look at the chat room though too.
we'll go over there in a second. But really quickly, in fact, let's do this way. In a minute, we're going to bring on another person onto the show, and it's my dear friend Tamara Lackey, who's been on the show before, but in a minute, none of you will pay any attention to me at all. Between the three of these women, I'm just totally sunk. So I just wanted to have my moment in the sun, and now that's completed. So Tamara Lackey, my dear friend, where are you?
Wasn't there another as well?
There he is. We'll bring him on. Hi, Tamara.
Hi! Oh,
With a
it's
little
still
time
a
delay.
delay.
She's eating.
Oh, look at, she's like, oh, she must know now. This can't be my phone. Okay. That's Dane's phone.
So what's happening?
Okay, we have to say nothing, and then she'll ask a question in a second.
Can they see her eating away?
She's mocking us right now. She's like, I'm eating. I don't give her it. Yeah, okay, well, thanks for being on the show, Tamara. You've been great. I really, you know, we'll talk to you later. Okay, good. So.
Can she not hear us?
She can hear us. She says no interest in talking because she's eating her food.
Oh.
Like, I'm just eating.
That's
she's
so
being
funny.
clever. She's funny. By the way, you should check out her new DVDs. They're really good. Okay, so Brian Tremblay, let's get you on. And Tamara, if you want back on, you know how to get a hold of us. So,
why did she do that?
Because she's weird.
We love you, Tamara.
So this is, I'm not sure if this will work or not. Hey Brian, good to see you, man.
We can't hear him.
We can't totally hear you, but we'll figure it out. Okay, we'll talk less so it won't echo. But hey Brian, what do you got for us?
Oh, it's a little delay.
How are you, sir? Can't hear me? Are we hearing me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Well, here's I do to play devil's advocate. Okay, we're dealing.
Hey, go ahead and ask your question, Brian.
Okay, the delay's freaking me out.
Maybe this video double thing isn't the best.
It's kind of the feedback system. If we question,
Okay, here we go.
Great.
As I said, I don't want to play devil's advocate here. But, how about for the photographer who absolutely maybe has zero budget when it comes to mail-outs, because these can be really expensive, you know, and really kind of tap the budget. So do you have any suggestions in regards to doing it?
Okay, so great. 1 second, you guys.
Joy has a good answer, but
Hey,
wow.
it's okay. The delay's gonna end, and we'll go. I'm realizing what the issue is, so I apologize. Once this question is done, I'll do it. So great. But so
Oh my gosh.
I know that's the replay keeps going.
Can you just drop it?
I'll do it. Okay, you guys can hear us even though we can't hear it.
Sorry.
So it's fine, no problem. So here's the thing, you guys. Apparently, when we have people on, and you can see Tamara, a little chat, it's really fun. When I have people on and we don't all have headphones on, then the replay comes on, it gets recorded, and it gets broadcasted again. So please forgive me, that was my mistake by doing that. So, and when I have, again, when I'm wearing earphones and my guest has earphones and we bring on a third person, then we don't have the echo issue. So my mistake for not anticipating that, I apologize.
But thank you, Brian.
But Brian, great question. If you don't have any money and you want to do a mailer, are there creative ways that you can get around that?
And I think we addressed it a little bit when we were talking about the dog groomer. That actually we did the.
There we go. Good. That's right.
We did the graphic design for the postcard, and she did the mailing for the postcard. So it was a win-win because we did the graphic design. We photographed her dog that had a picture of her dog on there, and then we partnered with her, used her list, and she's actually paying for the mailing as well. So there's ways, again, I think there's always, especially in photography, there's always need for photography. We partnered with a local caterer, and they actually did all the catering for free for our Facebook party. It was unbelievable catering, and we photographed the food, and we also gave them exposure in our mailer, and because they were a new caterer, and so there's just ways that you can do that isn't going to cost you as much money. And there's always an email blast. I think that as much as we were saying email is passé, if that's the only thing you can do, then obviously you need to go and send out your email blast that way. There's great companies. You can work with Mad Mimi, Constant Contact, or Emma. There's lots of email programs out there. So I'm looking at the anything you want to.
Well, look at the chat room real quick.
I am looking at the chat room. Elvis Costello said if you had his sound engineers, you'd be doing a lot.
Yeah, that's probably
Tamara
true.
wants to know if she's still recording.
We like how you chew,
She's
Tamara.
not recording, but apparently if I put this in, our tech
Oh,
guy.
my mom is twittering, but is she getting online? You should tell her.
Oh, tell her. Come find me. Tell her.
Okay, so we're going to take a couple more questions because there's a ton of questions in the thingamajigger. The thingamajigger.
You should chill all over.
Well, we will at the end when we do the tour.
Yeah, when we do the tour.
If you guys stick around, we will tour.
Yeah, we'll tour the studio.
Okay, so Tamara, if you have another question, let us know in the chat room or in the question section. And
Tamara's, well, she did ask the question. She
No.
said her question was, what are we most passionate about shooting, and how does that go into the bottom line? And I think, Tamara, that Jules, she's in love with a certain little fluffy animal, and that she is very passionate about shooting dogs. I know people that hate to shoot dogs, that don't want to have anything to do with that, and we've actually really worked that into the bottom line by developing this relationship with several groomers. He says yes, and this whole thing, the holiday mug shot shoot, it's been really fun. And so on one hand, it's making money, but on the other hand, it's fun. And so we're just going to do stuff that we think is fun, like talking to Dane. So that has worked for the bottom line. So Gustavo, who's the older twin. Gustavo, how is that? Unapproved. Yeah, not even relevant. We're not Who's the cuter twin? We know the answer to that.
Okay, let's just move on. I'm talking about no one. Okay, so.
Wait, look at it. Do you both think Dave is as hot in person as he is on camera? Oh yeah! Look at, don't be jealous. Oh.
That's ridiculous. I can't believe I put that up.
Whoops!
Well, I love it. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so I'm actually turning it up. So Christy Cross asked the question: what if home-based photography, their ideal client lives further from your area?
Further, I guess it depends on how much further, because we have clients that are taking us to the Virgin Islands. That's pretty far, but that makes us really happy. So
well,
it's also like a connection to how much you guys have invested in that client. I'm guessing that they love you. They have a disproportionate sense.
She cried when she booked you.
Yeah, well, that kind of love mark or whatever they call it is significant. You've made that much of an impression. One of my biggest highlights was I remember there was a girl who came into my office one day and said, I'm so excited you're going to shoot my wedding. And I said, oh, that's great, I didn't know you were engaged. And she's like, oh, I'm not engaged. And I'm like, I didn't know you had a boyfriend. She goes, oh, I don't have a boyfriend. And she decided she started saving money
Wow.
before she
You
had a
haven't shot a
boyfriend.
wedding yet?
I did shoot a wedding.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I did shoot a wedding. Yeah, like 4 years later. So
That's so fantastic.
yeah. So
If you find yourself in situations where you're there for a reason, so for example, I mean, some of it you're going to have to go outside your comfort zone, but once you establish those relationships, like for example, a networking group, that you start to develop relationships, then I think that you can move past that, which is why I think sometimes just going to a mixer or something doesn't necessarily work, because I don't actually like that either. I don't like just
flat cold, like,
yeah,
hey,
listen,
I'm
yeah.
so-and-so.
Right.
Cold
I
solicitation.
think what Joy is saying is if you get involved in other things, like for instance, in our case, getting involved with the Oakland Chamber and being ambassadors, it gives us this other reason for being in a place, and then people say, what do you do? And you go, oh, I'm a photographer, and you just start having a conversation, and it's more about just being yourself. And being shy is something you have to work on too,
So a couple last questions because we have been going.
Danny! Hi, Danny!
Danny Mendoza asked a question.
To be honest, what are the pros and cons to working with family like this kind of family? I thought you meant working with like kids.
Well, let me say,
that's a really interesting question.
It is, but let me say 2 things before you guys answer it. First off, I wanted to say really quickly that with the online stuff, just make sure that you're looking at these things as tools. So there's no magic bullet. We said this earlier. It really is a matter of why am I using what I'm using, and then look for the feedback. Like, is it working? And in certain seasons, stuff like the mailers may not work, and in other seasons, in different contexts, they might. The trick is that you're actually getting after it, and if you're not getting after it, you definitely won't work.
Yeah.
So get in the game and see what happens.
Center you guys.
The second thing I was going to say is all these token, like people asking you guys questions and then throwing in at the end like something about me. I love it. Keep it up, because at least I'm in the conversation. I appreciate it. So Danny asked the question, Joy, be honest, what are the pros and cons to working with family? Love you both.
And Dane is cool too.
Yeah.
That's why he took that question.
Yeah, it's totally
Dane
token.
is cool.
Well, I do like Danny, but
I like how he asked Joy. Joy, be honest. Jules, it doesn't matter. All right, Joy, take it away.
He tries to quit every week.
Yeah, I know. I try to quit. She doesn't let me quit. I think it's interesting because a little backstory. Being twins, Jules got into photography very young, and I actually deliberately did not get into photography because I wanted that to be her thing, and I was in a completely different track, and I had a whole different career going on, and then started my own family, and Jules' business was exploding, and so I was actually looking for part-time work and thought, well, I'll work with my sister and my best friend, it'll be fun. And then it's sort of grown from there, and then the studio space, and now we're both running the business full-time. And I think that that working with family can be challenging, but it depends on the relationship you have with your family. And so, like Jules and I were talking about it this weekend, that we never want business to get in the way of our friendship and our relationship, because
that's got to be hard work.
It is hard, and it's actually, but it's the most important thing. But I think one thing it does is it keeps us grounded in what is important, because sometimes it's really easy to get spinning out of control with like what's got to happen and work. And we actually took a weekend and went away this weekend up to a family cabin, and I realized, vacations they don't happen without you making them happen. And that if you don't stop and take time for yourself, it's not going to happen. And so, and
the other thing too that I think is important to note is that our skill sets are really different.
You guys are so different. I mean, I can just give feedback from the outside looking in. It's such, you guys are the dream team, because you have such an amazing combination, yet from the outside looking in, here, let me go this way.
I just want Dane close to me.
From the outside looking in, no problem. From the outside looking in, people mistakenly think, oh, well, they're twins, they must be exactly the same kind of attitudes or values or passions or whatever. And what's amazing, knowing you guys personally, is the spectrum of possibility because of what you both bring to the table uniquely as individual people who look alike. You get the benefit of both, where people actually, I'm guessing, kind of think of you as one person, but you have this kind of superhuman, like, you can write with your right hand and your left hand at the same time.
See, together
with Dane around more often.
I know, Dane, you're quite the egoist. I think we always laugh, like, together we make one normal person.
We're more likely.
But it's true that Jules has definitely gotten the artistic talent side, and she's the main shooter, and I learned my photography skills from her. But I'm the more, like, she's definitely the more outgoing one. But the more I do the marketing and stuff.
As a friend, it's hard to tell the difference. You guys are both pretty on crack all the time. In a good way. I mean, not in a judgmental way.
Right.
Yeah, got it. Okay, so because we're over time.
I don't think we can take all the questions.
We can't. We're running out. Let me just. If we can't answer it quickly, we will. If we can't, we won't. So Jeff asked a question: when receiving an inquiry asking of your pricing, is it best not to send them or try to set a meeting? Just kind of really quick.
The very best thing is to try to set up a meeting. I mean, I had a client who didn't want to go about, like, she ended up going, I'm not kidding, $5,000 over the price she initially told me she was looking for, because she came in and we met in person and we were able to show the value of what we were offering.
Yeah, all the way back to what we said at the very beginning of this conversation. It's all about one-on-one, in-person, you know, at least one-on-one connection. If not in person, over the phone, like,
yeah, even talking to somebody on the phone and showing that you have, like, educating them as to why you're worth what you're asking for.
Great. So Matthew says, how far will your clients drive to come to your studio? At what point do you meet them elsewhere?
Oh, it depends. We've had clients drive an hour and a half to meet us at the studio.
Then we've had clients who won't come 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know,
it just depends.
Okay. Mary Peterson asked a question. How do you present to other vendors
have
and
them
have them pay for the mailings?
It's got to be that win-win situation where...
How well can you tell a story?
Right. And then Joy's right, the going into their business. That's why looking at local businesses is much more effective than trying to partner up with people who are far from you, because you can go into their business and say, hey, I'm Mary, this is what I'm all about, and then connect on a face-to-face, just looking at somebody in the eye.
And the key is it has to be genuine. It has to be a genuine win-win. You can't just be pretending to win-win with them. Like, they, you know, anybody can see through that. So you have to really want to work with that business and see, like, I really like your children clothing line. How can we work together to promote an event with children? In fact, we could shoot it right here. The kids could dress up in your outfits, and I'd be happy to put those clothes on your wall. I mean, anything like that, but you have to think that way.
Great. Shannon Perlow
Shannon!
asked a question. So if you're wanting to shoot in other cities, do you advertise yourself in those cities?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Maria asked the question, what if at a consultation client brings in pictures and asks you to pick the style of this line? That never happens. Never.
I've had photographers tell me, somebody brought in your pictures and they want me to shoot it.
How affirming. That's kind of fun.
Right? No, that is borderline insulting, but I don't think that people realize that. A lot of times they're like, I don't think that's something, I mean,
like we shot a couple of infants like a couple of weeks ago, infant twins, and they, of course, everyone always refers to Ann Geddes or whoever. We want to look like that for our infants. And
do you have any melons?
Yes. Do you have any baskets? Any things you're gonna bring? And
I think the truth is you just need to you need to just rise above it and say, you know. Sometimes I'd actually ask people, well, have you considered hiring that photographer? Like, can you tell me why?
And a call.
Yeah. And it starts a conversation too about your style versus that person's style, and you can kind of see maybe ultimately they're not the right client for you.
Or maybe they can realize that you can do something unique to them.
Awesome. Okay, so a couple more if we can get them in. Christine says, can you give details of some of the events you mentioned, catering, what else is involved? And for this one's a tough one because we could spend another half hour talking about it.
Yeah.
But maybe just like
briefly,
one or two things.
Okay. What else is involved in the? I guess I'll just talk about the Facebook event. But what was involved was we wanted to get. The goal was to get people in the door just to meet us personally, and we also had some incentives for them to use us as photographers later. Like if they booked a dog shoot that day, they got $25 off. If they booked a portrait session, they got $100 in product credit. So we had incentives for them to book, but that party itself was not any sort of a sale. And we worked with a winery, we worked with a catering company, we worked with a local coffee shop and a local pizza place, and they all brought in their stuff because it was exposure for them. So because what we did was we brought in all these people from the local area, and it just promoted all of the businesses. So I don't know if that answers the question.
That's perfect. Okay.
That's an interesting question.
How do you deal with
Stefan,
clients?
how do you deal with clients that you met that you realize that you don't want to work with them? Actually, can I give a quick comment to the one about when clients come in and say, I'd like a certain style or a certain look. One of the things that I've done recently that I've enjoyed the response to is I've said, I've affirmed them, like not making them bad for the style that they like, but then I've said, you know, the folks that have gotten the most from me and my style tend to like this, and I have a way to describe what I can do.
Well, Dane's very good at, you know,
telling the story. Well, but I've been surprised at how helpful that's been, because what I realized is these clients don't necessarily like that style.
They just don't know any different.
They don't know any different. And we make a good case for why your style is what it is, and you can talk about it. And
there's a reason they brought you in the first place. There's a reason they're sitting there with you.
Some kind of connection.
Right. But what you're talking about is educating your client. And so you're educating
without
them.
Shaming the client.
Right. Oh, absolutely. But you're educating them on your style, on what, and so, but if you find out, for example, I did have a consultation with a family that wants to do a family shoot, and I know personally I'm not thrilled with working with these clients, but in the end, they paid our prices. So I was like, okay, we're going to do it. And, you know,
and I think the other thing too, if you really feel like you're not going to be a good fit, you could do that. I've done that. It's very rare that I'll actually flat out say.
But sometimes I think you'll surprise yourself. I mean, they were willing to pay my rates. I didn't negotiate anything.
Oh, yeah, and then when you actually
that's the other thing. That's what I was going to say. No negotiating at all, and just basically holding your ground. Sometimes you'll find it local.
I mean, conversely, if you love a client, you might be willing to negotiate just to work with them.
That's
so
right.
we've done that too.
Go in the other direction.
Yeah. So
that is funny. Who was I talking to? I don't want to name the photographer. We all know who the person is, but. She said specifically, that narrows it to half of the industry.
I was thinking that too.
She said specifically that when she smelled that it wasn't her perfect client, she just immediately goes to her top price point, and then that is the kind of the
right. And if they then suddenly they become your best client, right?
I love you. You're my favorite.
There's something going on outside.
There is. Yeah. Our place is on fire.
And we're good.
Okay.
We're just end the show. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna end the show, but one last question from our friend Tamara.
What are you doing after? We're going